chapter of our informed storytelling on Nile TV International as we bring you today in our new episode of Voices of the Continent. We bring you the heartbeat of Africa, getting connected to the African nations and getting closer to the policymakers and connecting and unveiling the news, getting in-depth analysis and also diving below the headlines, also trying to get closer to the people who shape our world. Hello and welcome to a new edition of Voices of the Africa, where Africa has its own voice and to be heard here in Nile TV International. Let's start right away with our news. Of the continent, UN condemns killing of humanitarian workers in South Sudan. Voices of the continent, Ebola outbreak in DR Congo spreads to 4th province. And flooding hits Ghana's capital, killing 13 people with another storm forecast. Fans revel in World Cup success as continent makes record showing. Also, the healing diplomat. We will, Dr. Magdi Yaqub, soft power in Africa.
Diplomacy is rarely written with a scalpel. Yet, where traditional statecraft sometimes faces barriers, humanity builds bridges. For decades, Egypt's engagement with Africa has been defined by political treaties and economic alliances. But today, the most profound diplomatic language being spoken between Cairo and the rest of the continent is the silent rhythmic beat of a healed heart. Magdi Yaqub, a global pioneer of heart transplantation, chose the historic city of Aswan, the gateway to Africa, to anchor a vision that transcends borders. Through the Magdi Yaqub Heart Foundation, his mission was never localized, it was continental. In a region where cardiovascular disease remains a silent crisis, with severely limited access to advanced pediatric care, Yaqub introduced a model of absolute equity, world-class healthcare entirely free of charge, with a strict priority given to children from across Africa. This is not merely medical charity, it's sustainable capacity building. The Aswan Heart Center has become a premier training ground for a new generation of African doctors, nurses and scientists. By transferring critical surgical expertise to medical professionals from nations like Rwanda, Ethiopia and Uganda, Yaqub is cultivating a self-sustaining medical ecosystem across the continent. This institutional legacy ensures that the knowledge remains long after the scalpel is handed down. As Africa navigates its path toward integration and development, the enduring legacy of Dr. Magdi Yaqub stands as a masterclass in soft power. It proves that the most resilient international partnerships are not forged in halls, but inside operating rooms, one heartbeat at a time.
of its national security doctrine. And following a brief suspension from the African Union in 2013, Cairo launched an intensive diplomatic effort that quickly restored full membership by the June 2014. Well, since then, Egypt has shifted from international and institutional absence to active leadership, using a new chapter focused on development partnership, trade expansion and continental integration. Well, to shed more light on this, we are most delighted to be joined here in the studio with our dear guest, Dr. Ibrahim Al-Tahawi, UN Counselor for Development. Dr. Ibrahim, great pleasure having you with us, and thank you for your time. Well, the more than a decade after the revolution, the June 30th revolution, and Egypt has many challenges, actually, internal and external.
Yes.
External was supposed to be like international isolation from the EU, from the United States of America, and even from the African Union.
Yeah, you're right.
Egypt started to exert unwavering effort to get back to the heart of Africa, and to get back to be the leader in Africa, and to get into the heart of Africa.
Yeah.
Would you please just tell us about this and your take on this, first of all?
In fact, first of all, I'd like to say in a dramatic way, don't forget to our viewers the famous film 2012. Okay, you may be surprised, dear viewers, because I'm talking about something dramatic. No, I'm talking mainly about the importance of Africa. Okay, you can't imagine the importance of Africa. This is my message to not only the Egyptian youth, but also to the African youth and Arabic youth. Okay, put in your mind that Africa is the golden continent, if I'd like to express
exactly.
the golden continent.
It is, exactly.
Right? So firstly, I started, or I prefer to start by 2012 film, because I can't forget this film. Why? What was the aim? I think most of the youth, most of the new generation, okay, Gen Z, tried to watch that film, but without observing or highlighting or focusing on the main message of that film.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that the director, when he took the most famous businessmen all over the world, and finally they took the submarine, because they were 150 businessmen all over the world, and they traveled on that submarine, okay, to what? To which continent? To Africa especially. Why Africa? Because the director, he aimed, this is the first message, the message that it was a golden continent, as I said, okay? It contains many treasures. That's right. So we have, this is the first message to the new generation. I hope, okay, the future will come and try to invest this huge amount of treasures. After that, what about the 2013? In fact, Egypt at the time faced a many challenges to return back to the African Union, because we have to confess and we have to say that the suspension of the membership of Egypt at the time, after the disputes happened here in Egypt after 2012 and what happened, and all the new generation sometimes don't know what happened in that era. In fact, after the Brotherhood regime, and after that President Sisi came, and what happened exactly, Egypt had to prepare a very important file, and I'd like here to focus on the importance of what happened. Egypt formed a committee called the WISE African Committee, okay, from famous ministers in Egypt who worked before and who had great relation and important relation, diplomatic relation and political relation with the famous capitals in Africa, like Nigeria, like Algeria, like Zimbabwe, Zaire, Ghana, South Africa, Djibouti, Somal, and those ministers with side by side with famous ambassadors who also served in those African capitals, in fact played an important role at the time to present an important file to say that what happened in Egypt was a public revolution. That's right.
It was not a coup.
That's right, yes. And they had to make many reports to present to the African Union. In fact, it was a greater challenge. Some viewers may say that it was something easy for that committee. No, it wasn't easy at all. And here I'd like also to appreciate the great efforts of the President of Mali, former president of Mali at the time, Alpha Omar Konari at the time, who exerted great effort with famous ambassadors and ministers from Egypt, okay, were also foreigners, so they all worked for the sake of Egypt only and Egyptians, okay, they had no sake at the time. After that, we promised that committee promised that we are going to reform the constitution in 2014, which actually happened. After that, we promised to make presidential elections, and although we had great challenge also in this fight, but it happened in front of the whole world, and the African Union prepared a file and came to Egypt, visited Egypt at that time, May 2015. It was a date I'd like to send that date to be a headline in front and in the mind of all viewers, especially youth in front of us, because May 2015 was a very important stage in Egypt at the time because of the presidential elections, and you can't imagine, it was very hard. It wasn't easy because some viewers, some observers came to Egypt to make their reports to say that in that report the elections was transparent, and what happened in Egypt was free and transparent elections, dear viewers. In the same time, after the elections, we had President Fattah al-Sisi after that, and we began to return back to, we got and returned back our membership in the African Union, and it was a great step, in fact, in the history of Egypt at the time.
Yeah, Dr. Tahawi, allow us to get this phone call with Dr. Mohammed Al-Azabi, Professor of International Relations. Dr. Azabi, always great pleasure having you with us, and happy anniversary.
Good afternoon to you, and happy anniversary for 13th June Revolution, and I congratulate you on the new development of Nile TV channel, and my congratulations to the chef of this channel, Osman.
Yeah, thank you. And it's such a real defining national moment as President al-Sisi nominated the glory day of the 30th revolution. Well, talking about such historic reformation and the historic also civilizational reform. After the revolution until now, till we got back till the heart of Africa. So the exerted effort made by the wise political leadership under the auspices of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi till we approach the regional leadership now in Africa.
Well, after the political changes in 2013, Egypt's membership in the African Union was temporarily suspended according to African Union regulations concerning unconstitutional changes of government. This created diplomatic challenges for Egypt, which has always been one of the founding members of the Organization of African Unity, the procedures of the African Union. Egypt immediately launched an intensive diplomatic campaign to explain the internal political situation. Egyptian officials held meetings with African leaders, foreign ministers, and African Union representatives to present the government's position and emphasize that the country's commitment to democratic transition. Egypt followed several important strategies, continuous dialogue with African governments, presenting a clear political roadmap, including constitutional amendments and presidential elections, respecting the African Union institutions and maintaining diplomatic communication, also building support from friendly African countries. These efforts successfully restored Egypt's full membership in the African Union in June 2014 through an unanimous agreement. This marked an important diplomatic achievement and allowed Egypt to resume its achievements, its active leadership role within African institutions.
Yep, such a breakthrough for our foreign policy, I mean, and the exerted effort of our foreign policy and the constraints and stances of the Egyptian foreign policy. Well, Dr. Mohammed Al-Azabi, thank you for your insights and for being with us. Well, getting back to you, Dr. Tahawi, and talking about the structural changes that Egypt introduced to the continental peacemaking when it assumed the chairmanship of the African Union in 2019. As you mentioned, the exerted effort after 2013 till we reached the 2019 and the chairmanship of the...
Yeah, as we said, in fact, we exerted great efforts from 2013 to after that, 2014, the new constitution, after that the presidential election. It was a great step, a great station in the Egypt future, in fact, and the Egypt political situation. It was very, very important steps. In the same time, after that, in 2019, Egypt declared that we are going to lead instead of returning the membership. Okay, it was a very important step. After returning the membership in the African Union, Egypt played an important role after that in 2019 and before that and after that, because Egypt, in fact, the African Union and the African countries began to be sure of the importance of the role of Egypt, and not only in the Middle East but in the whole world, because it is the center of the world. And it was great, in fact, a change, great challenge from the president himself and the official persons in Egypt and the Egyptians, and they traveled to many countries. And here we shifted to another point, which was a greater challenge also, which was security of African neighbors.
Exactly.
It was very important, and especially the region of the Red Sea, because you know that it is the vital corridor of the Suez Canal.
Of course,
so
and the Horn of Africa.
Believing that, yes, that's right, believing that was important and a crucial point, okay, in the diplomatic and political policy. So Egypt began to send, for example, some officials and some soldiers, some trainers to Somal, for example. Why Somal? Because in that time there were some movements from youth, okay, who didn't want the regime of Egypt, and they wanted to make some kind of disputes in Egypt, okay, and not only Egypt, in Africa, in some countries of Africa, affecting the here what's happened in, you know, Ethiopia and Somalia will affect Egypt mainly, side by side. So Egypt, believing in that, they sent officials and armed forces, some trained and qualified soldiers to Somal, in fact. And when I talked with some people, official at the time, in fact, it was a great mission. It was very, very important mission. And they didn't want to know, to tell me what happened. But as an Egyptian, as a citizen who was aware and who was believing and that Egypt was facing greater challenge. I wanted to know what happened.
Exactly,
so
our experience with combating the terrorism, as we exported this successful story of combating terrorism to the African countries within the continent, as he believes that our president, he believes that development comes in secured and stable countries only, and that's why he started to support all the African continents first to regain stability and security, and then to start with development. Yes, Dr. Ibrahim Tahawi, UN Counselor for Development, many thanks for being with us and for your time.
Thank you. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, by this, ladies and gentlemen, come to the end of our today's edition of Voices of the Continent. Many thanks for watching, and from myself, Hanan Al-Khoud.